Football Manager is getting a massive update, and this is the one we've all been waiting for. However, there are some drawbacks to the information they've provided in their blog post. Yes, Football Manager has just released a blog post of all this information that I'll leave a link to down the top of the description, but I'm going to tell you all about it. Because last weekend, they invited about 50 different YouTubers, streamers, bloggers, skin creators from all around the world, and they brought us all in to tell us all about it. It was a great event run by SI, so thank you very much to the team, especially Dom, who organised everything. I don't envy you at all, my friend. And I'm excited to tell you all what they have coming up that they've put in this blog post. So to start off, in the blog post itself, they actually acknowledged that although FM23 was the most played game in the cycle's history up until this point of the game cycle, they also hold their hands up and agreed that the game might not have lived up to the standards that some long-serving players expect. And to that, I think I've just got to applaud the studio for doing so. It's hard to admit when you don't think you've reached the expectations, and they kind of actually agree with us in that point. To quote the post, the FN23 feature set wasn't what we'd wanted to deliver. We tried a few new processes last year, some worked, some didn't. A few months before release, we faced the reality of having to drop a few new features that we'd wanted to introduce to ensure we were able to deliver a working game. While FM23 was released with some great new features and the overall quality of the game was still very high, it also contained some features which just didn't hit the mark. Which probably was my biggest gripe of FM23. The UEFA Champions League matchday experience is really the only thing that I still use, especially in content, but in just playing the game in general. I thought the recruitment focus and stuff like that, especially the recruitment focus, was a nice addition, but I found that I don't need to use it to play the game. Like, I just continue to use the scouting network. So, yeah, I think we can all agree that a lot of it was quite underwhelming, and obviously there was some, like, match engine problems that they had, which they seem to have fixed, but this is when it starts to get interesting now. Football Manager 2024 will be the 20th game in Sports Interactive's Football Manager series, and it will be the last of its kind. It's a love letter to football and the FM series as we know it. It's the closing of this chapter of our history. Now, does that mean there's going to be no more Football Manager? No. In fact, quite the contrary, as you'll see later on this post, but I think FM24 could be one of the most memorable in the game cycles. You can expect a host of improvements, big and small, both in new features and revamps to existing areas of the game. This is all thanks to ideas and feedback from within the studio, the world of football, and contributions from our feature request forum. That's like myself and you guys who always put requests to see things in the game. Hopefully we're going to see some of those in FM24, which is of course very exciting. And then, although they don't actually tell us what those features are, they do say they will be released sooner, however, than what they usually are in the game cycle. But one thing that they do have to tell us. Quote, however, a sneak preview I can share progress has been made towards one of the most requested features from our forums over the last 20 years, and that's the ability to transfer save games from one version of FM to the next. So any save that you're enjoying when it gets to the end of the game cycle and the new game comes out, you can actually continue that on the same platform in FM24. It will just transfer the game over, so you'll basically get all of the new features of the game, but in the database that you were last seen. So if you're 5 seasons in, it will just pick up 5 seasons in, but just on FM24. So it's a great feature, to be honest. So FM24 is a bit more of a mystery right now because obviously they haven't revealed what it is that FM24 entails just yet. We know it's the end of a chapter though, the end of a cycle, but this post gets real interesting when we look past FM24 and we look into FM25. Quote, FM25, the next chapter will be like nothing before. We last had a revamp of the graphics engine running behind our match engine in 2017. The last major update of the engine behind the wider game, such as the UI, was way earlier than that. So this, of course, is referring to the 3D match engine that was kind of like bumped up again in 2017 that we originally got first introduced to in FM09. And to summarize this section, going down a little bit more, they also mention regen faces and the technology stagnating and causing troubles. Of course, a lot of people have referred to the previous regen faces from older games being better than the ones that we see right now. But that started Project Dragonfly in January 2020, which is something that they spoke about in the blog post. But of course, if you think about dates, January 2020, just a couple of months later in March, is when, of course, the pandemic hit, which obviously has been causing a lot of delays for many different game designers and you know, other companies within the world of the gaming industry, which is completely understandable. And FM actually did a really good job of managing to get FM21 out during the pandemic, even though obviously work came to a grinding halt. They've mentioned quite a few times how they did a lot of remote working and has actually improved how they work at Sports Interactive, which is obviously fantastic and fair play to them. But now to the really good bit. Quote, the new chapter, new engine. So Football Manager 2025, FM25 console and FM25 touch will be our first Football Manager release to use a new engine, Unity. Incredibly well known in the gaming space, Unity powers many of the best games in the world, from Genshin Impact through to City Skyline series. Project Dragonfly explored a number of game engine partners, but after all our research was concluded, Unity was the clear favorite to take us into an exciting new era for the series. Yes, guys, a new engine means a vast improvement visually for Football Manager. I am so excited. Quote, the switch to Unity is going to give us a lot more power graphically across all formats alongside powerful user interface tools. We've been working closely with Unity over the last few years to be able to deliver a whole new UI which will dramatically improve the ways you are able to interact with the game both inside and outside of a match day. So this is the best news ever for me, because as a player and as a content creator, so both, because I mentioned even last week in a video, I'm bored of the default skin now. I'm bored of how the match engine looks. After 20 years plus of playing Football Manager and the years before that playing Championship Manager, I'm definitely ready to play a brand new looking Football Manager game. I need something different. You know, I've played other games, and you see other games, like I mentioned the NBA games being really good at it. There's a lot of data that goes into like the NBA games, very similar to Football Manager, but like the UI is a lot more attractive on those types of games. So I'm definitely ready. And anybody who's a little bit confused about the UI or user interface, it basically means like the menus for anyone who doesn't know. So, you know, Football Manager is always going to be a difficult game for improving that, because of course the amount of data and everything that goes into it, but it definitely needs a change. And Unity is a very powerful engine that can hopefully improve and solve that issue. As mentioned in the post. Again, I quote, for those of you who are not familiar with gaming technologies, in simple terms, FM25 will have significantly better looking matchday experience both on the pitch and the supporting stadium environment, alongside a vastly improved user interface that will dramatically improve how you navigate through screens and access all of the information available to you as a manager. We'll also have new technology for new gens and manager creation, which are already looking promising at this early stage. So we may not have to worry about our new gens looking daft and taking the immersiveness out of the game. And, you know, a lot of people have done fantastic jobs at using AI to actually create new gen face packs. I'm really hoping that we will no longer have to do something like that, because it's going to help within the game just by having the game now, because of this new improvement in the graphics for FM25. So this is all fantastic. Everyone at the event was really pleased with. Everybody that I spoke to was absolutely buzzing to hear those news, because we were speculating before what it could be, and like we were like, oh no, we really hope it's like something that's really minor. But this was more than what I thought we were going to get. If I'm honest, I thought it has to be something big, but this was far exceeding what I expected. So this is fantastic news, and it's very satisfying to me because the excitement from not only us who went there, who was told the news, but from the guys who worked at SI as well, because not only about FM25, but FM24. The reason for it is obviously they couldn't show or tell us anything about FM24 yet, which is like, well, why are you telling us about FM25 then? And for me, that's like, they shown us, and, well, they didn't like show us, but I could see that they were all so confident about FM24 that they were happy to tell us about FM25 having this new match engine, with the FM24 being a game in between. They're not worried about FM24, you know, not selling enough or whatever, because they're confident how good this game is. And for me, as a consumer of the game, and obviously a content creator for the game, that's fantastic news. But there is more too, a little bit more. Welcome women's football. The FM25 cycle will also see the long-awaited introduction of women's football to the Football Manager series. Before I go into the details, I want to acknowledge that since we first announced our commitment to introduce the women's game back in July 2021, which, by the way, doesn't seem like it was that far long ago, but it really was, we haven't provided any further public updates on the project, which has led to speculation and some frustration. Okay, so the women's game is getting bigger and better every year. So this is fantastic from Football Manager. Even when they announced it, there was a lot of like praise from Football Manager to do that. I know they never put a date on it, but this is obviously the reason why. And I'm excited to see more about it and the prospects of content creating around the women's game too. Obviously, it's going to bring in a lot more different video ideas, and it's fantastic for that inclusion to happen in Football Manager. And for anybody who is against that, you don't have to use the game mode if you don't want to. It's just there for everybody who would like to. Quote, the big question. By this point, that I'm sure that most of you are asking the same question. When can we see what this all looks like? Well, as mentioned earlier, we've had resource on FN25 for some time now, building towards a key milestone at the end of 2023. So this means we're aiming for the first major FN25 reveal in Q2 or quarter 2 of 2024. Until then, the updates from the studio will be informing you all about Football Manager 2024, and you'll be hearing more about that very soon. As I mentioned, nothing about FN24 in regards to the features, but that's because it's coming very soon. Main points of this was the FM25 stuff, but also like FM24 is going to be good, guys, still. All right, that's it, because this was all written by Miles Jacobson himself, and I think from a consumer point of view of the game since the very beginning, 2005, Football Manager 2005, I got that game. This is the biggest news and the biggest step in the game's history, bar none. Unity obviously is the main talking point for me because, you know, having something that will not only improve the match graphics, but the UI as well is fantastic from my point of view. And it could open up the game to so many more people who might have been put off by the graphics or the complicated UI before, because, you know, people who didn't grow up playing Championship Manager in the 90s or the very early 2000s might not have ever picked up Football Manager because they've seen what it looks like and just prefer to play FIFA because graphically it doesn't suit them, whatever. But we shouldn't gatekeep these newer players from being introduced to our game that we love. Okay, there are more people, because if there are more people who purchase this game and play Football Manager, then that means the growth of the studio itself. It means the growth of investment that goes into the game, which means a better game in general for you guys to play. So that's the most important thing. I think the studio always has great intentions with the game. And if you think the value for money that you get with the amount of hours that you put into the game for, you know, the 30 to 40 pound that you pay for the game across the whole year, I don't think there's any game like it. We all know that. The fact that this game is going to get better, then, you know, this is a dream case scenario for me as a content creator for Football Manager, but also as a player, because that's all we've ever wanted. You know, we've always wanted the Football Manager detail and everything, but with the graphics of a Pro Evo or a FIFA looking game like that. And we don't have to have it so, you know, we can tell every single player on the pitch. We just want it to look a little bit better and the UI to be a little bit more attractive to look at day in, day out, and to create content around is going to be great for that, but also just to play the game. I want it to look amazing, and I think this is going to be great steps for that. So, yeah, Thank you once again to SI for, again, inviting everyone up, because you didn't have to do that, and you did. And they haven't paid me or asked me to do this video reacting to the blog post. I've done this off my own back. These are just my honest thoughts, and you know me, because you've all seen my videos. When there is criticism that has been justified, I have given it, whether it's been set pieces, whether it's been, you know, how the graphics look, how the default skin looks. I was only talking about it just last week. So I'm more than happy to praise them on this post and the news that they are giving us in this post for the future, for this massive update, because again, it's justified, and I'm happy to do that. So let's continue to be excited for the future of the game, because this is the game we all love, and if that doesn't make you happy, I know what will. Omega Dad has bought FM23, and he's already gone through, on his tablet, a full season with Benfica in just 4 days. While my mum has unfortunately been in the hospital, the absolute lad, when he hasn't been visiting, of course, and up there looking after her. So outside of visiting now, as he's managed to do that. So if the videos are a little bit more sporadic going forward in the next couple of days, that's the reason why. Unfortunately, she had a heart attack on Saturday, a mild heart attack on Saturday, while I was actually at the event at SI. So obviously, she helps with childcare and stuff while my wife's at work, so I can continue to do videos for you. And obviously, Dad is allowed then to obviously do videos as well. So if that might be affected from the videos, please forgive me, but that's the reason why. She's up in hospital at the minute. We still don't quite know what is going to be the outcome of that from the mild heart attack or anything like that. She's having constant tests and everything. So thank you to everybody who already did know through my Twitter page and has been, you know, saying lovely messages and reaching out. I really do appreciate that, because it's going to be prioritized, obviously, in front of videos right now, because I can't leave my 1-year-old downstairs. He will cause havoc if I'm up here creating videos. But I will try my best to get as many out as possible. Thank you once again, and I hope you enjoyed this update as much as I do. Let us know what your favorite thing is down in the comments. Cheers.